Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to Living in Elegance. If you are returning to this study, thank you for walking alongside me as we uncover what is truly meaningful and what it means to live a life of beautiful poise, intentional discipline, and external etiquette. And if you're joining us today at a moment when you feel scattered, overwhelmed, or invisible in your daily labor, welcome home. Take a deep breath, settle your mind, and let us study together. Today we're diving into a verse that is at first glance like an absolute paradox in the middle of this verse. We reached verse 23. In verse 23, Proverbs 31:23 says, "Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land." Now let's be entirely honest here. When a woman is working tirelessly to steward her home, manage her schedules, handle administrative burdens, and poured herself out for her family, it can feel slightly jarring to read a verse that suddenly shifts the spotlight away from her entirely and shines it on her husband's career success. You might look at this text and think, why are we suddenly talking about him? What does his political and professional prestige have to do with her path to elegance? As a historian, I want to invite you to take a closer look. This verse is not a random interruption. It is actually the ultimate crowning testament to the woman's brilliance. In the ancient world, a man's public reputation was linked to the order, stability, and integrity of his household. If the household was in disarray, his reputation took the hit. Now, of course, hers did too, but his definitely did. This verse is telling us that because this woman is a master coordinator, because she handles her administrative stuff with grace, secures her boundaries, and refuses to live in frantic chaos, she creates a foundational launchpad of peace. Her stewardship at home allows her husband to walk out into the public square with his head held high, completely free from domestic distractions, respected by the highest leaders in the land. True elegance understands that our private leadership has a profound public ripple effect. Today, we're going to explore the deep connection between domestic order and public honor, and how you can cultivate a reputation of respect within your own circles of influence. So to understand this, we must examine, of course, this through the historical and architectural realities of an ancient Near Eastern city. In the ancient world, the city gate was not just a point of entry or a defensive wall. It was the absolute nerve center of society. So the ancient city gate infrastructure, you've got the legal courts, which is for judgment. You have commercial market, which is for trade. And you have the political assembly, which is the council. The city gates, or the city gate, was where legal contracts were ratified, where property disputes were resolved by the judges, and where the elders, the most dignified, wise, and respected men of the region, assembled to govern their community. So to take a seat among the elders of the gate, or at the gate, meant that you had reached the absolute pinnacle of public trust and professional authority. Now let's look at the word respected in the Hebrew text. The word is noda, which literally means to be known, recognized, or deeply understood. He wasn't just sitting there as a bystander. His character was recognized the moment he walked up to the stone benches. But here in the historical truth that we must not miss is, how did the man earn that level of recognition? In the ancient Hebrew culture, a man could never govern at the city gate if his own household was marked by disorder, financial instability, and fractured relationships. If his home was a place of chaos, his energy would be completely drained by conflict resolution and domestic firefighting. He would enter the public square distracted, exhausted, and compromised. So let's look at the flow of honor. You've got internal stewardship, which is the home, which leads to peace and stability, which then leads to public reputation, which is the gate. Therefore, when the community saw the husband sitting with poise and wisdom among the elders, everyone at the gate knew exactly why he was there. His presence at the gate was a public advertisement of his wife's masterful administrative capacities. She ran the estate so seamlessly. She managed the employees so effectively and cultivated an environment of such profound order that he was free to excel in his calling. Her private excellence became his public honor. My friends, let's bring this truth out of the ancient stone gate and straight into our modern rooms. Many of us are managing incredibly full plates. You may be leading a team at work, managing dozens of employees, teaching, running a household, often balancing all of these things simultaneously. And in the midst of this heavy administrative load, it is incredibly easy to fall into the trap of resentment or exhaustion. We can start to feel like our behind the scenes labor is invisible, or that we might be available to everyone all the time at the expense of our own peace. But verse 23 reveals a beautiful alternative mindset. Your home is meant to be a launch pad of peace, not a theater of conflict. And we talked about this last week in verse 22. And if you didn't watch that, I would encourage you to go back and watch that, where we talked about creating that sanctuary. When you prioritize creating that sanctuary, clearing the physical clutter, refining your communication, and establishing a firm, elegant boundaries, you change the spiritual atmosphere of your entire household. And that's why I do these like I do, where you just have the thumbnail, the piece up there, instead of seeing me or watching a bunch of images going across. I wanted to create this to be something that you can listen to while you're doing decluttering, while you're cleaning your house, while you're driving kids to places, or while you're driving to work. I wanted to create it as a place where you didn't have that visual distraction so that you could work on the things that you needed to. So you wouldn't feel torn between the two. So while you're clearing that clutter, while you're doing those things, You change the spiritual atmosphere of your entire household. Whether it's for your spouse, your children, or even yourself, before you step out into the professional role each morning. An orderly home provides psychological safety for everybody who lives there, not just the other people, for yourself as well. So imagine the profound shift that happens when a family member transitions from chaotic, demanding battles of the outside world and steps across the threshold into your home, encountering a sanctuary of calm authority. It allows them to rest deeply, recalibrate, and to heal. It's that sanctuary, that safe space where they can feel rest. When we give from a full cup, because we have stewarded our lives, our minds, and our spiritual disciplines, we stop treating our families as administrative threats to our remaining energy. Instead, we become the architects of an environment that propels the people we love into their own callings with confidence and dignity. Your quiet, hidden stewardship is the very foundation upon which public respect is built. And it's not just everybody else's, it's yours as well. So let's look at some practical steps to build a reputation of respect and how we can live that out this week. How do we take this principle of the city gate and apply it to our modern professional presence or domestic relationships? We're going to look at 3 distinct elegant practices to be able to do this. So number 1, the practice of gracious firmness. We're going to refine our verbal presence. The elders at the gate were respected because they knew how to speak with wisdom. This week, let us focus on refining our communication, particularly in high stress or difficult situations. True elegance means finding the exact words to remain completely firm in your boundaries while remaining exceptionally gracious in your tone. Speak slowly. Lower your pitch. Avoid reactive, defensive language. When you speak with composed authority, respect naturally follows. It is important to treat people with respect, to talk to people with respect. So number 1, we're going to practice that gracious firmness. But here, it doesn't mean being a doormat for people to walk all over. Number 2 is the architecture of the threshold. So honoring the transition. The husband in verse 23 had a physical transition. He walked from home to the gate. We must create intentional transitional rituals to separate our professional responsibilities from our domestic sanctuary. Do not simply just shut off your computer or walk into your house saying, I am done for the day, while your mind is still racing with emails. Create a physical or contemplative ritual. Spend 5 minutes in prayer. Light a beautiful candle. Change into a tailored, elegant silhouette that signals to your spirit that you are leaving the public gate and entering the private sanctuary. And if you feel comfortable, share what you're going to do, what your threshold is going to be. So we're going to practice the gracious firmness. We're going to create a threshold, a space that we're transitioning. And then 3, we're going to do the governance of the gate. protecting our deep work blocks. To build a reputation of respect, you must respect your own time. Frantic availability does not command respect. It invites interruption. Practice closing the door to your workplace for a dedicated block of deep work. Frame this time as not being unavailable or unhelpful, but as a discipline that allows you to give your highest quality of presence when the door is open. So you're not multitasking. Govern your schedule like a queen governs her kingdom. So let me do these again. Our 3 distinct elegant practices. We're going to practice the gracious firmness. We're going to practice the architecture of the threshold. And we are going to practice the governance of the gate. Honor is not something we desperately chase or demand from others. True honor is a natural byproduct of internal alignment, consistent character, and an unyielding commitment to order. So as we bring our thoughts together today, I want to leave you with the final beautiful truth from Proverbs 31:23. The respect that the husband received at the city gates was a shared honor. In the ancient world, they would say that a virtuous woman was her husband's crown. When she sat among the, he sat, not she, when he sat among the elders, he carried her reputation with him. My beautiful friends, you are daughters of the ultimate King, the Most High God. And the work that you're doing behind closed doors, the cleaning, the decluttering, the refining of your emails, the steady management of your team, and the quiet spiritual disciplines is never, ever in vain. God sees the meticulous care that you put in stewarding your life. He sees it all. So when you choose to step out of the frantic rush and walk in true elegance, you lift the standard for everyone around you. You create a legacy of dignity that speaks volumes at the gate of your community, your workplace, and your home. Let's take a minute to pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for the love and the care that you've given us. I thank you for Proverbs 31 and for the example that it gives us. I pray that as we all create those boundaries and we create that space, that you would just help us to be intentional and not reactive. That you would help us to build that character and integrity that points to you. Bless each one that's watching this. In your name I pray. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this historical perspective and encouragement brought you clarity, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share the video with a woman who needs to be reminded of the massive value of her hidden stewardship. Go this week with quiet confidence. Protect your sanctuary of peace. And remember, you are designed by God to steward your life with majesty. I will see you next week as we look at verse 24. Have a beautiful, blessed day.